Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I figured it was fitting to make this video because right now I'm in my 67 Chrysler 300 with a 440 big block V8 in it, and we need to talk about the return of the V8 for the Chrysler line of vehicles. And it makes me really excited because of the fact that we are deprived of our Hemi V8s, and the only vehicle you can get a Hemi V8 in it anymore is the 25 Dodge Durango. You can get the 5.7, the 6.4, and of course the 6.2 supercharged Hellcat engine. But other than that, no more Ram trucks, with the exception of the heavy duty. You can get a 6.4 Hemi in that, but that's not the racy type of Hemi, that's the truck Hemi. And with the exception of that, you cannot get a Hemi or a V8 in any other vehicle in Stellantis' lineup at all. But now that is making a return because of the departure of Carlos Tavares, which was probably the best thing that ever could have happened to that company. We have now got Tim Kuniskis in charge of Ram trucks again, and he wants the Hemi to come back. Yes, that is awesome. That is great to hear. As you guys know, if you watch the channel, I've got a ton of Hemi vehicles, 3 SRT vehicles, 2 with the 6.1, 1 with the 6.4, this 440 V8, although this isn't technically a Hemi, and my parents have Durango RT Tow and Go. So we've got the full gamut of Hemi vehicles, and myself personally, I've owned 3 Ram trucks as well with the 5.7 liter Hemi, and the Hemi runs in my blood essentially. And granted, guys, I'm not a V8, I'm a V8 lover, of course. They need to be around. They just need to be around. But I am also a guy that doesn't drive V8s just to drive them. I have a Volt plug-in hybrid, and my fiance has a Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xe2 because we want to be economical, we want to help the environment when we can, and we want to help, at the end of the day, we want to help our pocketbooks where we can. And that's what the Jeep and the Volt do for us. Instead of driving this behemoth of a vehicle that probably gets, I don't know, 7 miles to the gallon, or my Jeep SRT, which gets 11 or 13 miles to the gallon, it just benefits us to have some more fuel-efficient vehicles. But with that being said, the return of the Hemi really allows Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram to be I guess, viable in the future. They are going to stay, not necessarily modern because that engine tech is older, but they're going to stay relevant again. They are going to be relevant vehicles, which is what, as a Mopar enthusiast, what we want. I want a car like the 300 to exist. I want a car like the Charger and Challenger to exist in the lineup. And I want a truck that, while I have driven both the standard output and the high output of Hurricane engines, and they are great. I do have to say they are great. They are powerful. They're smooth. They're quiet. In the truck application, I just don't think that's for me. And if you look at brands like Chevy, and if you look at brands like Ford, they give you the option of a V8 naturally aspirated with, in GM's case, it's the 5.3 or the 6.2. In Ford's case, it's the 5.0 Coyote V8. So why not try that if you're Ram with the Ram 1500 lineup, and even Jeep with its Grand Cherokee L, Grand Cherokee itself, the Wagoneer lineup. Why don't you give consumers a little bit of an option there? You're already charging us an arm and a leg, and that's something that is terrible. Of the Jeep and Ram brand is the fact, even Dodge with the Durango, you're charging us an arm and a leg, but you're not really providing us with anything. I think the least they could do is give us some options as buyers. And yes, I know a lot of us, including myself, it's like, yeah, I could buy a brand new vehicle, but will I do it? No, I'm not at that stage of my life yet, and I'd like to have multiple different cars to drive. I could go out and buy a brand new TRX right now if I sold every single one of my vehicles, but I don't want to do that because I like choices, I like options. And essentially, that's what it sounds like Dodge and Chrysler Jeep Ram are bringing back to their lineup, are different engine options. And that's what we want. That's what helps keep the brand relevant, which is awesome. I mean, you go back to the day, you go back to the heyday of motor cars in the 50s, 60s, 70s, you had a million different engines to choose from in the same car, which was awesome. Before this 300, I owned a 78 Dodge Monaco. That car came with the base engine, which was a 318 V8, and then it came with a 440, which is in this car, and then it came with a multitude of different other engines in there as well, different V8 engines. And as consumers, that's what we want, is different engines, especially Americans. Let's be honest with you, Americans love choice, and they love to get the freedom of choice. This is America after all, and as much as we may or may not like it, we have Mr. Freedom at the helm, or so he says, at the helm of the country. So why not take advantage of that if you're Mopar and throw a boatload of different engines in your vehicles to make your brand relevant again? Because I just passed a Ram truck there, and I've owned Ram trucks. Yes, the 5.7 is slower, but I have towed so much with that engine, it's bulletproof. It truly is. So why do I want to stress out something that's a standard or a high output, especially the high output 3-liter inline 6 turbo? Why would I want to stress that out if I'm pulling 10,000, 12,000 pounds? It just seems like more issues can go wrong with that. And again, that's why Ford and that's why GM offer you options with your trucks and your different vehicles as well. It's not necessarily trucks, it's Tahoes, it's Suburbans, Yukons, whatnot, Escalades with different engine options. So at the end of the day, guys, this is the best thing that could have happened to that brand. And I'm still appalled that Tavares's idea from a board's perspective, you go from straight from a V8 Hellcat supercharged monster in the Charger Challenger, and then you just quit and go to straight electric power. And then you overprice your vehicles. I don't know how the hell that got past the board. I don't know how that, I truly don't. I'm appalled at it. Truly, I'm appalled at it. I certainly couldn't do that at my own business, so why let that happen at Chrysler? I don't know. That guy was out of his mind. He was paid way too much for what he did, and he did not know how to run a car company, clearly, because he was forced out of that company for good. But now we've got some actual people. John Elkann, who cares about the company. He's got like 13% share in the company itself. He's one of the board leaders. So he's clearly got some sort of a push in the company. He wants it to succeed because he's got money behind it. And then you've got visionaries like Kaniskis, Back in Power, Matt McAleer. I mean, the list goes on and on, that we've got gearheads and motorheads back in the helm of the company. And if you take a look at like Ford, for example, Jim Farley, who is actually a relative to Chris Farley, fun fact, he's got his own podcast now called Drive with Jim Farley, and that guy is just a total gearhead, motorhead. And you can see it with the vehicles that Ford is still producing. The Mustang GTD, even their electric vehicles, honestly, even their SUVs with the ST variants of different vehicles. And that's what you need leading a company. You need a visionary like that to lead your company. You need somebody who is enthusiast-focused to lead your company, whether it's to sell enthusiast cars or just your run-of-the-mill V6 powered Chargers or Challengers. It truly doesn't matter. So I'm excited that the Hemi's going to be back. This is just my take on it. Again, I don't know all the for sure details, but I know it's going to be back in 2026. And I can't wait for that. I don't give one damn if it's got less horsepower and less torque than these Hurricane inline 6s. Your reputation. I remember in 2009 when Ram redesigned the 5th gen or the 4th gen truck. That was a visionary of a vehicle. That was a game changer of a vehicle. And what led the charge? A 5.7 liter Hemi V8 with 395 horsepower and 410 pound-feet of torque. It was epic. So you really need to, if you're Dodge, Ram, whatever, you really need to find that niche again and make your product good and kind of revive that feeling from 2009 again with Dodge, with Ram. We're gonna pull out in front of this car with Chrysler, with the 300, with Jeep, with their new Grand Cherokees coming out. We need to, as enthusiasts, we need to support this, but as a company, they need to find that life again and revive their brand. So with that being said, guys, I'm going to enjoy the little bit of driving I have left to do here with this 67 300, which I'm enjoying the hell out of right now. So I appreciate you watching, and we will see you in the next one.